Go ahead.
Okay. Our mission. Helping Parents Heal is a nonprofit organization dedicated to assisting bereaved parents to become shining light parents by providing support and resources to aid in our healing process. We go a step beyond other groups by allowing the open discussion of spiritual experiences and evidence for the afterlife in a non-dogmatic way. Affiliate groups welcome everyone, regardless of religious or non-religious background. Attendance today at this meeting is voluntary, and we are here for the benefit of learning from and sharing with other parents whose child has passed away. It is understood that our discussions are intended to be confidential and not designed to replace traditional therapy or spiritual counseling. However, these Zoom meetings are helpful to parents all around the world, and they are posted on YouTube so that affiliate members who are not able to attend this meeting live can also watch. Helping Parents Heal offers a wide variety of speakers to allow parents to be informed about many possible ways to heal, to connect with their children, and to learn about the afterlife. The views expressed by our guests do not necessarily reflect those of Helping Parents Heal, and we ask that you take from their presentations whatever may benefit you personally. Welcome, everyone, and thank you so much, Mark, for being here this evening.
Yes, thank you, Mark. And I am thrilled. First of all, I just want to tell you that he's going to be speaking at our conference again, and he does some of the best guided meditations to connect with, he calls them facilitated after-death communication, to connect with our kids. He also did an incredible angel wash that I'm sure a lot of you were a part of. Obviously, this event might not be able to happen this time, but wouldn't it be wonderful if everything is normal by that time? And it could happen, because that's just one of the most beautiful events of the whole conference. Mark Pitstick, MA-DC, is an author, master's clinical psychologist, holistic chiropractic physician, frequent media guest, and webinar workshop teacher. He directs the Soul Phone Foundation and founded Greater Reality Living Groups. His goal is to help you to know and show, no matter what is going on around you, that this earthly experience is totally safe, meaningful, and magnificent amidst the forever. So I just love the way that Mark is able to tell all of us that this is transitory, but that we should be enjoying what we are doing here as much as possible, and that our kids are with us every step of the way. To learn more about Mark, visit his website at www.soulproof.com. I think that Mark put it into the comments on the sidebar. And without further ado, please join me in welcoming Dr. Mark Pitstick. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here. And first of all, a disclaimer, the information I'm providing this evening is not to replace traditional medical or psychological care. I'm not a medical doctor. My training is in pastoral counseling, clinical psychology, doctor of chiropractic, and with big emphasis on nutrition. Tonight's session is about addressing, especially holistically, common symptoms that occur after a child passes on. And I see at least one guy in here, and we always welcome the guys, except tonight. So you're out of here. Get hold of Mike Edward and Jeff Hollahan, and we'll have a group for the dads. But here's why. We're going to be talking about some personal things here, things like menstrual changes and periods and depression and all sorts of things. And our feeling was that women would be more comfortable talking about that if there weren't any guys around. All right, thank you for that. So the big thing with women is you all have this thing called the endocrine system, your hormonal system, and it gets a lot of work. First of all, we're talking about the pituitary gland, which is in the brain, which is considered the master endocrine gland that oversees function of all your hormonal organs. Then also the hypothalamus, which is another little gland that is kind of a switchboard between your brain and your other hormonal organs. Next, going south, your thyroid gland. Your pancreas is actually a ductless gland, part of your hormonal system, the ovaries, and then the all important adrenal glands. Well, these glands go through a lot of work as it is. Every month you have your cycle and so on. Pregnancy, certainly, miscarriages and so on. So for a lot of women, that system is already on the brink, and perhaps you've been treated medically for it, which might give relief, but it often doesn't get to the underlying causes of the problem and may create other symptoms. But then your child passes, the worst, your worst nightmare. And I mean, you might as well get hit by a bolt of lightning 1,000 times every day, what I'm talking about. And that immense shock especially impacts your hormonal system, which we've been talking about, your brain, and then also your gastrointestinal system. A lot of people don't realize, but the brain and the GI system, we're talking about the stomach, small intestine, large intestine, are very, very much connected. There are as many neurotransmitter sites in the gastrointestinal system as there are in your brain. Neurotransmitters are chemical messengers which relay messages from the brain. So what I'm saying is, if your brain is distraught and you're just, going, I can't believe it. I can't believe it happened. This is the anniversary and all that the brain goes through, that can negatively impact the GI system. So with that, the most common symptoms, and again, starting with the head, that occur after a child passes, are migraines, insomnia, trouble getting to sleep, staying to sleep, or both, weight gain, weight loss, fatigue, certainly, depression, anxiety, panic attacks. Those are some of the more common. And then in the GI tract, things like irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's disease, colitis, depending on how, or just perhaps significant diarrhea and constipation, depending on how severe that imbalance is. So I know that many of you have these symptoms because I talk with you, I get emails, I've worked with patients for almost 50 years now. I know what you're thinking. How's that possible? You didn't look a day over 40, but so it's okay. That's one reason why when a guy's on here, there's nothing to be embarrassed about. It's just happens. But the great news is, though, that almost always really good, what I call safe, affordable, natural, and effective solutions. And the first letter for those 4 words is sane. Sane treatments are available that can just turn you around. When I was preparing a bit for tonight, I recalled a patient. Now, she wasn't a breed mother, but we'll just call her Judy. She had been a chiropractic patient for about 10 years, and I knew that she had just given birth to her 3rd child. And she came in, she had never had any nutritional care, just the chiropractic spinal. And she said, I really don't want a treatment today. I just wanted to say goodbye. And I said, what, are you moving or what? She said, no, I'm not telling anyone else, but I've decided to die by suicide. And my plan is I'm just going to sneak out in the middle of the night and start driving. And when the car runs out of gas, I will just start walking, and I'll walk across fields or forest, whatever, till I drop dead from starvation and dehydration. And I said, get on the table. This is called a cry for help. Okay. And 2 weeks later, she was totally normal. So she had severe postnatal depression. So some of you may have had that postpartum. Some of you may have had that to varying degrees, and maybe it went away then. But that underlying imbalance, see, organs don't work 100% or 0%. There are gradations in between. So for example, you may have a thyroid that's only working 50% of the time. Your adrenals might be working, just hanging on 20%. But then when something big happens, that's it. That's when the symptoms pile on. So first of all, in the chat, and they'll find a way to relay this to you, as I said, my email address, you're welcome to contact me and I can suggest specific articles for you and treatments. But much of what I'm going to suggest here, the information's on my website. Also, one of the biggest by far treatments is called NRT, which stands for Nutrition Response Testing. I don't have any stake in the company. I'm not getting anything out of it. It's just that I've used this technique for 15 years. I've used lots of different nutrition techniques over the last 35 years, and it is by far the most comprehensive, powerful. And there's a link there to help you find a practitioner in your area. So again, nutrition response testing. And then finally, a list of the most common, the most important articles for this evening's presentation, each one listed and briefly telling what that is. So what I'd like to do now is to open it up to, we can do one of two things. First of all, women, and I say women because I know we have some grandmothers and mothers and perhaps sisters and siblings here. So open it up to, if you're suffering, I mean, what better chance to sit here and tell me, and you don't have to be seen. So people may not even know who you are if you want to do it anonymously, but you can just share, hey, here's what my symptoms are. And I can say, okay, do this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, do that for 90 days, and then check back in. Or to break the ice, we have a few leaders who are prepared to share what symptoms they were having, and then what natural things help them pull through it. So what do we have popping up there, Elizabeth?
Well, we have a lot of people saying hi, so and welcome. So those are always welcome. I'm not sure of who the leaders are that you were going to be calling on, but we can definitely go through some of them to break the ice. And then after that, if other people would like to ask questions, that would be wonderful.
I have Yolanda said I would like to share.
Okay, good. So do you see Yolanda on the screen, or should we go ahead and unmute?
I asked her to unmute.
Good.
Hi, Yolanda.
Hi, how are you, Irene?
Okay.
So my son passed almost 3 months ago. Of course, it was kind of like expected, but that's the call that you'd never want to get. And our life was a little bit, stressful for a lot of years. So I have had a lot of health issues related to stress. But lately, I started having like breathing issues. So I went to the pulmonologist. Nothing is wrong with my lungs. It's just like this shortness of breath that I have all the time. And it has increased tremendously after, he passed. So I think it has to do with anxiety and also insomnia, or then I go from insomnia to completely the other end of the spectrum that I want to sleep all day because I just feel like sleeping makes me numb. So I just want to sleep. I was active, a person that used to work out like 5 times a week. I haven't find the strength to do anything. I feel fatigue all the time. I don't feel the strength to do anything. And
Sure.
Then the GI stuff is like I eat and it's just almost like goes through a tube. I eat it and it goes straight out.
Got it. Okay, so first of all, thank you for being so brave to share. The Bible talks about ask and you shall receive. Well, you're asking, you're putting it out there. So good for you. And you others will notice that she mentioned a number of the symptoms that I talked about. So yeah, I agree. Shortness of breath is, I mean, especially in this time of COVID, we have to think about other possibilities, but along with the anxiety and insomnia and 2 months after your son passed, you definitely have to think about panic attacks. And so I would, on these articles I'm referring to are at my website, soulproof.com, S-O-U-L, proof, P-R-O-O-F.com. And the ones I would specifically recommend for you are number 86, which is breathing techniques. Now, this isn't holistic breathing. This is more peaceful meditative breathing. Number 77, centering practices. And by the way, if your mics aren't muted, please do so. I'm hearing some background noise. Centering practices, just things as simple as walking in the woods, or playing with a pet, or knitting, anything that quiets the mind, because as you've experienced, your brain will just go over and over things to the point where it feels like you've got this deep groove in a record, and it just keeps going over and over. So, the old be still and know I am God, know that God is, like his eye is on the sparrow and you are part of the divine. So centering practice, certainly a basic article that addresses body, mind, spirit wellness, article number 12, fine tuning yourself. Number 38, holistic solutions for common problems. 51, meditation. And let's see, then I would go with 87, natural healthcare. And this refers then to practitioners that I recommend. I call them the big five. First of all, nutrition, which I mentioned earlier, so powerful in giving the body what it needs to turn around and getting rid of the bad things. Next, chiropractic care, especially want to make sure there's no pressure on your spinal cord, the nerves in the top part of your neck. Acupuncture, can't say too much about that. Deep tissue massage. So many of us have trigger points, and strong emotions can center in the muscles. So when we're talking about a deep tissue massage, when they work on that, you may have a release, a catharsis right there on the table, or perhaps at night in your dreams, you may just start crying and you get that stuff out as those emotions worked out. And then the fifth would be a good integrative medical doctor. And by integrative, we mean someone who doesn't automatically jump to drugs and surgery, who appreciates the value of natural health care, and who works with, communicates with your natural team. So I would start with those. But the other thing is, just remember, even though you had some warning, my gosh, 2 months into it, that's very early. So just the fact that you're here and talking and ready to look at how to solve it, I applaud you for that. That's excellent. Questions about that, Yolanda?
I think she's muted. Let's go ahead and try to ask her to unmute. I don't see how this happens.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Yes. Someone has to unmute me and then I get the notification. I think I was not a reader before, and now all of a sudden I want to read because I think that just brings me a little bit of peace. I will definitely read all the articles that you have recommend, and I did have all these breathing issues where before COVID, but it's just I never addressed them because everything was COVID. So when I made the appointment, when finally it started, this was like in April, like before everything happened. I said it again and again, I'm vaccinated. I did a COVID test. This is not COVID related because this all started before COVID even started.
Right. Got it.
So he said, there's nothing wrong, like physically with you, nothing. Your lung capacity is great. And that,
okay. Yep. Actually, we should wrap up now. We can't go into too much detail on yours, but
thank you so much for your advice.
You're welcome. This recording will be available so that you can review and write those numbers down. All right. Who next would like to share?
Well, we have somebody who messaged me. Her name is Roseanne Shee, and she asked if she could speak. And so maybe we could go with Roseanne and then do the ones that are actually in the chat box after that. Is that okay? And I think Irene's looking for Roseanne.
Yes, I've asked her to unmute.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, I'm right here.
Okay.
Hi, Mark. Nice to meet you.
You also.
Yeah, so ironically, this is, I guess, a good discussion that I came on to. I actually lost my daughter about, well, it was back on January of 2020. I had just started a trajectory of health. I had gastric bypass surgery. I used to be 454 and a half pounds, and I had lost over 200 pounds. And I also have Crohn's disease, but I was on a trajectory of health until she passed. And then when my life blew up, I kind of put back on 30 to 35 pounds. And I recently went on OptiFast medication. It's a comprehensive weight loss program, and my Crohn's disease just like kicked up a notch. So I reached out to a holistic nutritionist that I met at a recent retreat that I went to. And I guess, obviously I want weight loss because I still have more weight to lose. But I guess I just have to buy into the fact that I have to go on a holistic approach. And what you were talking about, that NRT, I don't know if there's practitioners in my area or anything like that. I had never heard of that. So I guess you're going to share with some articles that you might have. I just want to get my life back. I kind of didn't want to live anymore after my daughter died, but I want my life back. So
Of course. Well, good for you. And again, you're speaking up. That's one of the first steps. Yeah, the best article to find out about what I call nutrition-based healing is article number 32. And it talks about the NRT. The other best way is applied kinesiology. Both use muscle testing, and used by a skillful practitioner. Those will pick up imbalances, nutritional deficiencies, in my opinion, before hair analysis and before blood work. So very, very sensitive, very evolved work. Now, Roseanne, with your gastric bypass, depending on the procedure, well, all of them will quite potentially decrease your absorption of nutrients. I mean, it's partly how you lose weight. They bypass they get rid of part of the stomach, or they create a loop, etc., which means that you don't have as much absorptive surface area, which means you may not be absorbing nutrients, even if you're eating a really good diet. So over time, then that can result in symptoms in and of itself, not to mention your daughter's passing and so on. So I definitely would get on a nutrition program. Now, she passed 1 year and 3/4 ago. So yeah, if it had been 2 months for you, I would say right now, just focus on survival, getting through this. But yeah, you're at a point where it is good, because obviously the weight is going to be a factor. And kudos to you, 200 pounds, that's excellent. The other techniques that I would recommend for you, looking at my key list, would be article number 90, and this is called What Do I Eat? And this is, I've been fine tuning this since I was 21 years old, when I read the ingredients in bologna and said, oh, I guess that's not something I should be eating. Pork ears? No, thanks. So you can see, what am I eating now? It's not for everyone, but it is very high. The key word is nutrient dense. In other words, if you get really good supplements and have shakes, like in this article, it talks about the Vitality shake, a green drink for which you need a Vitamix, and protein shakes. And there, for example, the green drink, there's 25 different things in there. Herbs, seeds, vegetables, fruits, and you get so many nutrients. I dare say that in one serving of that, which I call 32 ounces, you probably get more nutrients than the average person gets from their dead and devitalized food in a week. And then what happens is, see, a big part of satiety, that is what signals when you're pleasantly full, is if your body has enough. That's one reason pregnant women have cravings. That little fetus might need some extra niacin or folic acid or something. And so women go, pickles, no, ice cream, no, potato chips, no. You know, they're looking for that. Animals are the same way. A horse will eat a fence, will eat a barn if you don't give them the nutrients they need, a mineral block. And so you can use that information by getting key nutrients, which are determined, because, you know, if you try to figure this out for yourself, it's overwhelming. I mean, if you read 100 articles, you're like, my God, I should be taking 1,000 supplements. And that's the beauty of having someone who's very well trained that could say, focus on this. And then the nutrient dense diet. And what do you know? You're losing weight, you're feeling great, you're giving your body what you need. So I go with that, and then let me know how it's going in 90 days.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you. God bless. And by the way, you didn't really lose your daughter?
Yeah, I know, I get it. I know.
Yeah, well, then don't say it.
I know.
She's probably right behind you saying, Mom.
Exactly. Yeah, thank you.
My pleasure.
So we have a lot of people asking questions in the chat box, and it's wonderful because Dawn is at the same time that you're talking about the articles, she's writing the article, the names of them and the numbers. I will include all of the articles as well as the nutrition-based testing in the video that will come after on YouTube. But so we have, let's see, would you like for me to just start at the top and give you the questions that are asked?
I very much prefer to talk with the person because typed messages don't do it, because then I don't get the interaction.
Okay, so Erin Majeski is asking about hypothyroid problems. Could we maybe, it's with an E, Irene, unmute Erin so that she can talk directly with Mark?
Yes, she should be unmuted.
Hello.
Okay.
Hello.
Hi, Mark.
Hello.
Let's see if I can find you so we can highlight you. Let's see. So Erin, can you say something one more time so that we can see where you are?
Hello.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
There we are.
Thank you.
So Erin, tell me about hypothyroid symptoms. What are you having?
Okay, so I had a miscarriage about 2 months after we lost our 3-year-old. And after a lot of testing, they found that my thyroid levels were a bit high. So they put me on a low dose of thyroid medicine to help with that. And that's something I've been tested for in the past and never had my levels be as high as they were after my son had passed. So I don't know if that had anything to do with it, or if there's something that I can do in addition to the medication. The medication is working now. But yeah, I guess that's my question.
How old are you, Erin?
I'm 39.
Okay. So here's my take on that. First of all, the thyroid is one of the trickiest organs to work with. It can be persnickety. I don't know if you ever heard that word before or not. And certainly the thyroid can be impacted by the shock. And you had 2 physical losses, you know, the miscarriage, and those are often underestimated, what an emotional impact that is on women. So that's a double shot there. The thyroid is also impacted by, for many women, because of nutritional deficiencies. You understand that soil is what contains nutrients. So if the topsoil is deficient, no matter how healthfully you eat, the food isn't going to have the nutrients in it. That's why it's important to get whole food supplements. We work mainly with a company called Standard Process, in Wisconsin, where they have the deepest, darkest topsoil in the US. So the plants they grow, the animals they grow, have real nutrients in them. The other thing is that there are many chemical disruptors of the thyroid. They're called endocrine molecule disruptors. So for example, people who use flimsy plastic water bottles, all of those except Fiji are filled with boiling water. And so in that process, there are little microscopic bits of plastic. So you drink it. Now, this little bits of plastic are in your bloodstream, and those can mimic thyroid hormone or whatever the organ involved is. So the thyroid, the gland and the hormones work in what's called a lock and key mechanism. So we're talking on the cellular level now. So say this is a thyroid cell and it says, I need some thyroxine or TSH, whatever the hormone is. And along comes this piece of plastic that's a similar shape, and it'll go, oh, good, I found some. And it has that lock and key mechanism. So now that receptor site is satisfied, it's filled, but it still doesn't have the hormone. So that's another thing that can really throw off. So chemicals are really important. On my website, and I don't have it right in front of me, but it talks about chemicals, ways to decrease them. So the next time you buy skincare, toothpaste, deodorant, laundry, home cleaning, etc., get chemical free. And that way you're not bombarded with all these chemicals that again can throw off an organ. So, you know, you're quite young and you're feeling better, and that's good. You know, that's the beauty of medicine. You can come in and, you know, make a person feel better so they don't attempt suicide or, you know, can't function, things like that. But now is the time, in my opinion, to get the real natural care and find out, okay, what are the underlying problems? Let's address them so that you can get healthy, because otherwise what you're supposed to do, take hormones the rest of your life and you've got a gland that's not working quite right. In other words, get to the cause of the problem, the root of the problem. Does that make sense? Any follow-up? Yeah, it looks like you're muted there.
How did she get muted?
Sorry, I muted myself. I did that to
Okay.
myself.
Any?
No, that makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah. So if you look at the list of articles, 88 whole food supplements and way of eating, supplements and diet, the nutritional based healing, 32, definitely natural health care, and that'll help you. And we've worked with lots of women who were on various, you know, Synthroid or perhaps estrogen replacement therapy. So oftentimes we're able to get them off of it over time, again, with the medical doctor's knowledge, working together. So let me know how that goes.
That would be the end goal for me. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Take care.
So Natalie Delancey is saying that she's dealing with severe depression and anxiety. Maybe we could bring her on and she can finish the question. She's wanting natural supplements or therapies that could help. Irene, do you see Natalie?
Yes. She should be unmuted.
Okay.
Hi.
Okay, so let's see.
Yes. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I'm just trying to find you. There you are.
Hi.
An opinion. Okay.
Yes. So my son transitioned 7 months today, and I've been having severe anxiety, panic attacks, severe depression, just not even having like the will to like move forward. To really, I'm just existing. I feel like I just have no motivation to participate in life. I eat maybe once a day and I'm actually gaining weight. I did not have a menstrual cycle for the first 6 months. It just recently came back. And then I'm also having migraines.
Yep. Check, check, check. And by the way, I saw somebody in the chat box said, what about loss of interest in sex? I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot to mention that one. Decreased libido. Decreased interest, or vaginal dryness, and so inability to enjoy. So Yep, it's textbook. So 7 months, what a perfect time to launch, to celebrate a 7-month anniversary and to start getting you well again. So I would start off, Natalie, with article number 26, mental symptom treatment. And by that's just grouping in mental versus physical symptoms. But so many of what you mentioned can be due to the brain hormonal system imbalance. But since yours are severe, you definitely want to get an integrative team in place because, some parents do get in such despair that then they attempt or succeed with suicide. And of course, that serves no one. So the other thing is that, I don't know if you remember before all this happened, like, you should take a walk or jog or whatever, but you don't feel like it. It's inertia. But then if you could just get yourself to strap on those tennis shoes and go out, the next thing you know, you're feeling better. When you get done, you're like, oh yeah, I killed it. So that's another thing with when you're in a state like this, sometimes you have to push yourself, and perhaps you have family or friends who can use a buddy system and get you out there. But really for what you described, are you under, if you don't mind me asking, are you under any kind of counseling or psychological treatment?
Yes, I'm going to counseling twice a month, and I just began a grief share support group once a week.
Okay. Well, I'm looking at article number 70, holistic breathing, and it's so powerful as a way just to get that raw grief out of you. And if you're like most people, you will just cry, you will just yell, scream, pound the bed, etc. But run that by your counselor first. Once you share the article, you can send the article to him or her and say, what do you think about this? But you definitely should have a coach in the next room, so you know that the fear is I'll lose it. And in fact, people don't lose it, they get it back. And so I would recommend that as a way to really deal with that. Meditation, my sense is it would be too hard for you to do a seated meditation right now, but perhaps there's a nature spot where you could walk and have a walking meditation in a way to let nature heal you. In various cultures, the concept of chi, ki, prana, life force, and different indigenous cultures especially say that chi, that life force, that healing power is most abundant where facets of nature come together. So that would be water, wind, sky, earth. And that's why it's so powerful. For example, walk in the surf or walk in grass that's not been sprayed with chemicals. Get down the dirt and plant or dig or weed. This is very grounding. Some people call it earthing, but that's also just a way to get connected with Mother Earth and receive that healing that we all get. The Bible talks about the rain falls upon everyone, the just and the unjust. And so assistance, guidance, love, support flow naturally from the divine, from your angels, guides, etc. The question is whether you're open to it, whether you can recognize it, whether you receive it. And so that's another factor I actually didn't put down on the list. I think it's article number 96 or so, prayer. And I share my prayers. And again, I went to theology school in my 20s. So for me, this has been an evolution over the years. So feel free to look at those and adapt them and just ask for help and know that it's coming, even though it doesn't seem like it.
Okay.
So let's start with that. And to all of you, please, I mean it. I'm super busy, but the old saying, if you want something done, ask the busiest person you know. Well, maybe Irene or Elizabeth, but I'm in third place. So my answers will be short, but I'll say, article this, this, and this, do this. It takes me a few minutes, and I'm truly honored and glad to do it.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you.
All right. Take care.
Thank you so much. Goodness gracious. So we have Barbara Lodge, who was diagnosed with breast cancer 8 months after her daughter passed, and she has some questions for you. So it's Barbara Lodge. Irene, do you see her?
Yes, I've asked her to unmute.
Okay, thank you. You're so fast. Thank you. So Barbara, can you say something, please, so we can see you?
Yes, hi. Hi, Mark. Thanks for being here for us.
Okay.
It's an honor. I can't tell you how much of an honor it is.
Well, like I said, my daughter died, and 8 months later, I ended up getting diagnosed with breast cancer. It was they said it's like a stage 1.5. I had a lumpectomy. I've read a ton of books on cancer and nutrition, and I kind of decided to go with a vegetarian diet. I got rid of all meat. I try to eat a lot of fruits and vegetables. They do have me on anastrozole. I'm 56, so I'm beyond, I'm in menopause. And the anastrozole is really messing with my joints. And I'm finding it harder and harder to work out. But I kind of felt like, there's not a lot I can do about my sadness and my grief. I mean, I'm seeing a counselor, but it's there. It's going to be there forever. But I figured I can, change my diet. So I was wondering if you had any other recommendations on, I'm in remission. I haven't, it's been 1.5 years that I've been cancer free.
Okay. And how long ago did your daughter pass, Barbara?
2.5 years ago.
Okay. So yeah, I can only cover so much in these short meetings, but your immune system is probably the third system that is the most affected. Your immune system being primarily your thymus gland, your spleen, your liver. So certainly I would definitely do the NRT. We can't, as doctors of chiropractic, we can't say we treat cancer. That's a multi-billion-dollar business in the US, and people don't like that. But what we do say is we help people get as healthy as possible so their body can heal itself. And that's the truth for all these things. The practitioner isn't doing the healing. The supplements aren't really doing the healing. It's your body that does the healing once we've got rid of the bad things and given the good things. We've had, and I say we, I have an associate, we've had, I think now we're up to like 25 cases of significant cancer, big masses, and the cancer specialist will contact us afterwards and say, what are you guys doing? The MRI is normal now, or the CAT scan's normal now, and there's no sign of it, and all the tests are normal now. So certainly the body can heal itself of something like that. The cancer word is so scary. Obviously to a lot of people, they hear it and like, okay, I might as well, go to the undertaker and have a seat. But really, the body can deal with that. Those are weak, confused cells, and a strong body and a strong immune system can combat them. So certainly the information about the integrative medical doctor, the holistic healthcare team, the nutrition work, certainly the holistic breathing. I mean, being so close to the heart, get that pain out, and especially that there was a delay, 8 months, you say in there. Significant cancer growth can take decades to occur. And so it's likely that you had some cells forming, but your body was keeping them under control. And then when that happened, and frankly, part of you probably wanted to pass and be there with her. So there's that will to live component as well. But I would put all that to work. I applaud your plant-based diet, which is what I talk about in my article number 90, What Do I Eat? And one big reason is because you're avoiding sugar, which feeds cancer cells. You're avoiding estrogens that come from dairy products and meat. Animals are given growth hormones and so on. So you're avoiding that, and those can progress cancer growth. The other thing you want to do is get a lot of oxygen. And that's another reason for the holistic breathing, because that's 40, 45 minutes of so you're getting so much oxygen in your body, and most cells are anaerobic, which means they don't do well in an aerobic, that is oxygen-rich environment. So start with that and check in, please. Yeah, let me know how that's going.
All right, thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Goodness, we have a couple questions about vision, asking if grief can affect our vision. Sandy saying she has RP and it's gotten worse. Could we maybe unmute Sandy Burns?
Okay, she should be unmuted.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you.
Hi, Sandy.
Hi. I have a host of issues, but the one that's really got me puzzled right now is I have retinitis pigmentosus. My son that passed had it. And since he's passed, and it's been a year and a month since he's transitioned, but my vision has really, let me go back. I was never diagnosed with retinitis pigmentosus, but my children had it, so therefore I had it. But since he's passed, my retinitis is there, and I have very limited vision, side vision, almost pinhole vision at this point. And I'm wondering if it's related to the grief.
Yeah, good. Very good question. And yes, as you recognize, it was likely there, the genetics were there, but there's a whole emerging field is called nutrigenomics, where they recognize that depending on our body's nutrition, good or bad, that can trigger, activate good genes. It can suppress, quote, bad genes. And so quite likely, yeah, you had that predisposition toward it. And then when the big shock happened, here it comes along. The good news is that the eyes are extremely responsive to optimal nutrition. We've had some cases of RP, pretty advanced macular degeneration, and boy, you give them what they need, and it's just fairly amazing. And there are actually some eye doctors who are getting on top of this and using nutrition in their practices. So that would be definitely with the NRT, but then you say you have a host of problems. So you're going to have to go with the whole body, kind of like the chain is only as strong as its weakest link way of looking at it.
Okay. Alrighty. So who would I reach out to, or could you refer an article for me?
Yeah, they're going to have for you, they will list with everyone the link to find a practitioner for this nutrition response testing. And that's what you'll want to get for your eyes. By the way, I'm struck with the, I just have a feeling about, the seeing the big picture of life and what's going on with your eyes. So I would say that as we look at body, mind, and spirit, part of the healing for you would be make sure you're seeing things rightly, which is your son is very much alive, and maybe even do the facilitated after-death communication technique, which I describe in article number 9, to visit with him, perhaps see him more around you. And as your spiritual eye, some people call it third eye, improves, you may notice that your physical ones do as well. One factor.
Great. Thank you.
That's
You're
beautiful.
very
Oh,
welcome.
goodness. So Lynn, who is Tiff's mom, is saying that that she wakes up throughout the night with her heart pounding through her chest. That she meditates. So could maybe we just bring Lynn, who is Tiff's mom? So I think that that must be in the title on.
Yes, she should be unmuted.
Hi.
Thank you. Great. So quick. Okay, here we go. Hi there.
Hi.
Can you?
Hi, I'm here.
Hi, Lynn.
Hi.
So tell me about your heart pounding.
It's just like, I mean, I'm from sleeping, I just sitting up and it's just slamming out of my chest and I can't calm it down. And I mean, it happens sometimes at work during the day. Today's my 10th anniversary, my daughter's angel anniversary. So, anyway, I do it every night, throughout the night. And it's very hard. It's like very fast. And I can feel it. It's like, I'm like, I was sleeping. I should wake up, feel, you know, I mean, I'm not going to wake up happy, but I'm like, why is my heart doing that all the time through the night?
Okay. All right. Well, so this is one where you definitely want to have a medical checkup. And if you gotten any feedback, whether they think it's tachycardia, fast heart rate, arrhythmia versus a panic attack sort of problem?
Okay.
Have you gotten any medical input about that?
No.
Okay. Yeah, you'll want to do that. You know, the heart's nothing to fool with, obviously. So first of all, just get a good medical checkup and see if they find anything wrong. But at the same time, I would definitely do the NRT because that can address either problem. The heart is basically a muscular pump and it uses a lot of minerals, calcium, magnesium, and others to optimally contract, relax. Well, you know how some people get Charlie horses or muscle cramps in their legs, and it's horrible. Well, if you get a muscle cramp in your heart, that can cause arrhythmias, or it can cause a heart attack. And then the body will, in its attempt to get those nutrients, it may beat harder, faster or harder, may increase the blood pressure. It may have irregular heartbeats because it doesn't have everything it needs to be normal. So yeah, I would do both on this definitely. Get a good medical checkup, get a good nutrition checkup. The other thing, of course, it's an easy tie-in with, you know, your heart's broken. I mean, all of you, broken heart. And so that's the beauty of holistic healthcare. And that's one reason I went to theology school and psychology and holistic chiropractic, so you could treat body, mind, spirit. You want to address all of those. And so certainly you want to be involved in a group. You're going to the meetings. I don't know if you've taken advantage of the caring listeners. We have a wonderful group of people, you know, for all of you who will listen. There's no charge. Share what has worked with them. They're not professional counselors, but in my experience, they have a lot more to share than most counselors. So make sure you avail yourself of all the evidence that's out there, so you know without a doubt that life continues after bodily death. That's article number 1 and 60 at soulproof.com. So let's go at this from a couple different angles.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and now I'm getting this intuitive thing, and so yeah, this isn't my bag, but I'm picking up that it's there's some self-worth issues here, self-blame, and so to the extent that's happening, you want to let that go, and that's the breath work, counseling, talking to a minister, talking to God, you know, release that, obviously. And then, of course, that's such a common one for many parents, feeling guilty, if only I would have done this or hadn't done that. But it serves no one. And I'm sure your daughter is saying, come on, Mom.
Beautiful.
do this.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lynn. And we have just a little bit of time left. And I know that you had said you wanted to address this. We have several people asking about what about sex? I have no desire of having sex, and I'm concerned of losing my wife. Teresa is saying you're not alone. I have no interest in sex either. Would you like to talk to Vivian or to Teresa, or maybe address this on your own and let us know if people are going through this, what could be done? What would you like to do, Mark?
Sure. Since we don't have a lot of time, and since it's a highly personal issue, and since there's several people, let me just address. I say that sex is like icing on the cake, and when your cake is collapsed, the icing is superfluous. So if your body is just trying to struggle with survival, you're trying to get through the day, the body doesn't really care, and your mind doesn't really care if you have sex or not. And obviously there's pressure from your partner and expectations and so on. So then you feel guilty and you're not interested, and then you worry about the relationship, which all makes it worse. You realize that sexual drive, libido, ability, moisturizing, etc., is a very complex sort of there are a number of things that have to go right with your hormonal system. And then we've talked about your endocrine system, the ovaries, the thyroid, the adrenal glands. So if any one of them is pooped, and oftentimes it's adrenal exhaustion, adrenal fatigue, or adrenal exhaustion, then there's just not going to be the interest or drive there. So in all those cases, yeah, the NRT. And that way you just start building up those systems, give them what they need. And this can be, it's usually a combination of self-care, better self-care program, rest, exercise, meditation, things like that, nutrition, diet, and then specific nutrients. So for example, Native American tribes, when they killed an animal, the brave and the chief and the highest hunters would eat the organ meats. And, this sounds kind of gross to us in 21st century. They would eat the organ meats, and then the others would eat the muscle meat. Well, one of the reasons they ate the organ meats, the heart and adrenals and liver and things like that, is those organs were rich in certain nutrients that kept them really vital. Well, that's why now we need to get that in other ways. And that can be just like the missing piece of the puzzle. And once you get those nutrients, wham, you're back in the saddle. Oops, that's not a good analogy. You're, things are working again.
That's wonderful. Listen, I just love the information that you've been giving to us this evening. And we're going to provide a link to your website where all of these articles are located. I know that you're going to be doing the same thing with a dad's group. So it's not just for moms. I know we also have more questions in the chat box, but is it possible for people to reach out to you with questions, Mark, if some of the questions weren't answered this evening? Would you mind if they were reaching out to you?
As I mentioned, I'm glad to do it. Just know that my responses are going to be brief by necessity, but that's why I have all these articles and resources. So I'll say, read this book, use this audio program, read this article, and follow up on the action steps. So in that way, I can convey a large amount of information, share those resources, and give you just what you need to take it from there. So if we have to go now, I don't, but if we have to go now, I would just say the meta message here is have hope. You may have felt like, well, I'm getting older, I'm falling apart, and this is just the way it's going to be. That's not the case. I had a patient named Audrey. She was 75, and who was it said, I have a long list of symptoms. Well, this gal, I'm sure, beat you. And we worked really hard on her for a year, and she just kept improving, symptom after symptom falling away. Well, she came in for her, I think at that point she was out to a few months in between visits, and she was crying. And I said, "What's wrong, Audrey? Why are you crying? You've been doing so well." She said, these are tears of joy. I started feeling happy again. I had forgotten what happy felt like. Well, that's possible for you. You know, it may seem impossible, but over time, and it's interesting that for a lot of cases, moderate cases, it takes about 9 months for the body to turn itself around, you know, which is an interesting amount of time. So realize it didn't happen overnight. There were a number of factors. Be patient, be consistent, be regular, don't get discouraged, but just know that it is quite possible that 9 months from now, you can look back and say, wow, I look, feel, and act so much better now.
That's wonderful. My goodness. So kind of the birth of a new us, right? Pregnancy and then birth of a new person who's going to be even better after going through something that was one of the hardest, most difficult things that we've ever gone through. But I just want to tell you that there are so many people thanking you in the chat box. We'd love to do this again. If you'd like to come back, Mark, maybe we can do another session and have more questions answered, which would be wonderful. And we always like to unmute everyone and allow them to say thank you and good evening. So
Yeah,
go ahead.
Before we do that, there's one other big factor, and that is, yeah, I've heard a number of times that parents will feel undeserving of getting well again, and sometimes guilty for feeling good or feeling happy. That is the exact opposite of what your kids want for you. You know, if they could, they would just shake you till you come to your senses and say, "What are you crazy? Of course you deserve to feel good." You know, they are in a environment characterized by all these higher energy emotions, love, peace, joy, enthusiasm, etc. They want you to feel the same. That's when you're going to be more on that same wavelength. So do not please feel guilty or, you know, what am I doing working on being happy when my child passed? Your child is having the wonderful experience of a lifetime. I've shared this before, but it bears repeating. This comes from Dr. Ken Ring, who worked with more people who nearly died near-death experiences than anybody on the planet. And from all these glimpses of people who were clinically dead and came back to report what they saw, what it felt like, he said, here's an overview. He said, remember your 100 best days on earth, your happiest, healthiest, most energetic. Now multiply that by 1,000,000. And you get a sense of how good it feels when you go back home, when you drop this limiting body and brain, wonderful as they are, when you're embraced by the light, when you remember who you are, when you remember how wonderfully life is set up. So that's what your kids are doing. So you deserve the very best.
That's beautiful. Our kids are happy, healthy, and home, and we're in school, and we're here for a reason, and they want us to be happy. Exactly. They're our biggest cheerleaders. They're taking our hands and leading us towards healing. So you are so right. And they are high-fiving each other when we smile. So as Mark says, let's all get well and help ourselves to heal because our kids want us to. And I want all of you to as well. Mark wants you to, and Irene wants you to.
Absolutely.
So Thank you so much for being on here. And let's go ahead and allow people to say thank you and good
Yes.
night. And
They
again,
should be unmuted.
we'll try
Thank
to
you,
do.
Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
See you
Thank
Thursday
you,
night
Mark.
with
Thank you
Suzanne
so much.
Gieseman.
Thank you, everybody.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Take
Bye-bye.
care.
Thank you,
Bye.
Mark.